Hey, welcome back to the table. So the only thing I can think of rules-wise that we did wrong, I know I did just update the victory point calculations for non-heretical provinces, is I want to call your attention to fleeing combat. There actually is a die roll you have to pass in order to be able to flee. And I think in the previous combats I always said that you have a right to retreat. You do, but you have to pass this test here. So retreat is not a guaranteed thing. So that was probably one thing we did wrong. In fact, I think the Romans might have been able to kick some barbarian butt just a tad bit more. But let's get going. We got a really long military phase going on here. The Huns go first, and they get what's called an invasion step. So an invasion is they get to go twice. But what they do is they're going to go once, and then the Germanic barbarians, and the rules never clarify who the Germanic barbarians are, but I'm going to assume it's the new ones that just popped in here, up in the Prussian area. The Germanic barbarians all get to go, and then the Huns finish their turn, which is the second invasion, because remember, an invasion means they get to go twice. And then they get to do campaigns. And then once the Huns are finished, everybody else goes in regular turn order. And that includes the Germanic barbarians. So the Germanic barbarians will get a second go as well. And then also remember, the Huns are not allowed to enter Germania. And that's pretty much it that I can think of. So again, I don't know what solid strategy is in this situation. But I'm trying to find a safe spot to put the camera that's not going to bump a bunch of pieces. Also, I just noticed Sevastopol is still on fire from the pillage token. I think that the barbarians can remove the barbarians don't control the Sevastopol city, so therefore they can't remove the token. And there's two hordes that are currently in Sarmatia, so nobody controls the area. So yeah, so that pillage marker stays. Okay, so I gotta stand up for this. This is reaching all the way across my table here. So this guy, Bellamir, can group everybody together. So we have a stacking limit of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he gives a +1. And the way invasions work, so what we can do then is we can just take the other ones. We're going to take one of the regular, well, those are, remember, they don't have elite horse archers yet. So this stack of 3 with the horde is going to migrate. This stack is going to invade. So what are they going to invade? What are they going to do? Well, the Huns are controlled by the green player. These two here are not the green player. So they can attack the Ostrogoths, which is the problem that the Ostrogoths are going to face for staying behind to score those victory points. Either that or they're just migrating, which is an option, but I don't know if that's really a good one. The other thing about migration, one of the rules that got clarified, and I read today, is that you can't migrate your horde to a place that can be intercepted by an enemy. That's a really interesting rule because that means you got to stay back. Okay. So well, let's see how the Huns score points. Let's do that. Where's their card? Here it is. Okay, so they get a full victory point for every Roman that's eliminated, but only a half victory point for every other unit. 2 victory points for every city level looted, 3 victory points for every area with 3 or more pillage chits, and a Hun presence. 12 victory points if you can submit both of the Goths. And then 3 victory points each turn under a Fotis. So submitting the Goths is actually a big goal for them. So they're going to do it. Let's do it. So these guys are going to go 1, 2, 3. And we're going to try to attack the Goths here. And then this one, we're going to migrate 1, 2, 3 like so. And these guys are inactive, so they don't do anything. All right, so we got mega battle time. And I'm just going to grab all the units out of the Ukraine. And yes, this is the reason why the game warned us, the Ostrogoths, not to do this. And now we're going to find out why, right? So they have a generic Rex. We can only have 5 units ourselves because of the stacking limit of Balamir. I'm going to check the player aid one final time because the Huns do have a bazillion rules. Like maybe they have extra stacking. Yeah, so Balamir is going to get to do his campaign, which is just 1. And the Germania area cannot be entered before turn 3. That's the biggest thing. And then on turn 4, more stuff happens. But, okay. What else was I going to look up? There was something, oh yeah. The player aid is referencing section 32.a in the rule book. So I need to go check that real quick. It has to do with this Hun invasion. And it's really late in the book. It's like a religion thing. Oh, right here. Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Look at this. Germanic nations. Blah, 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 blah. Look, they're all listed there. Yay! The rule book did save us. Okay. So I'm going to leave that open so we can do that. Let's resolve this battle. So I guess we could sit down and figure out the pluses and minuses. This guy gets 3 rerolls. He only gets 1. So since he's the attacker, he's going to spend one of his rerolls to add a +2. He's going to use his 1 to cancel it, right? Because that's the way we roll, pun intended. But he still has 2 rerolls left. So he can use 1 if this first roll stinks, and then he can use the other one to give himself a +2 for the second round. And then we need to check to make sure, oh, there is an archery phase, so rerolls don't happen yet. Sorry about that. We are in the step location, so we're going to do an archery phase. It's only them, firing on them, but let's figure out our bonuses here. There's 3 heavies here, and there's only 1 heavy here, so these guys get heavy bonus. I'm sorry, there's 2. There's 2, so these guys get no heavy bonus, okay? There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horses to 3, so they get the cavalry bonus. And then neither side has elites, so there's no elite bonus. So let's look at our archer phase. Basically, it's just a roll against this chart. You get +1 for every archer or horse archer, -2 if there's a heavy advantage, which there isn't. There's no Frankish infantry, and if there was an ambush, things would happen. And then this red one of a hit only occurs if it's clear desert or steppe. We are definitely in steppe terrain here. I mean, we're basically in Cossacks territory. So we're going to roll, and this is the archery phase. So I got to just take whatever I get, and that's an 8. That's a good roll. That's already 1 hit, but then you go 9, 10, 11, 12, just like that. Because there was 4 archers, so we add 1 to each. So we're at 12 or more. That means we did 2 hits to them. And I think no matter what we hit, it's eliminating something. So we're going to eliminate 2 of their units before they even get a chance to fire back. That was a big advantage for the Huns, and the Ostrogoths are in big, big trouble. So yes, he's getting a +2. He canceled it, and now we roll. Oh my gosh, I rolled a perfect 12. Oh my gosh. The Ostrogoths are in trouble. Okay, so we rolled a 12. There's no fortified city present. It's not a marsh. There was no strait crossed or a river. I mean, they crossed a river, but it wasn't for this particular province. No barbarians in a forest. No barbarian versus civilized. No elites. They get a +1 because of cavalry, so they're even up to 13. They are a nomad. The Huns are a nomadic nation, so meaning they're always hostile towards every other barbarian, and so they actually got a 14 out of this deal. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, so 5, 12 is 4 hits, because that half is rounded up because of a steppe terrain. That annihilates everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they're going to go ahead and roll. And they rolled an 8. And at 4 units with an 8, that would be 2 hits. And I don't think they get any bonuses or negatives to their roll. So Valamir here is going to make them roll again. And that's a 5. So 4 units with 5 is just 1 hit, and he'll take that. So he's not even allowing them to get extra hits. So we're going to go ahead and take the hit with this unit here. I mean, these elite units, I mean, they have another side to them, but they're not elite. So they get eliminated after 1 hit. So this one would get eliminated. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Horde. They probably should have tried to retreat, to flee. I didn't even think about that. Let's see if they could have tried to do that. I didn't think the Huns were going to rock them like this, but so you would get plus the leader value, which is just 1. You get -1 if you have less cavalry, which cancels the leader value, and you get +3 if you have twice the units, which they don't. And if you have triple, it's automatic. But see, they would need a 9 or better, so fleeing is not easy. I don't think they would have been able to, and we're just going to stick with the outcome. All right, so 6 points for green. So let's grab some tokens here. Oh, I'm sorry, only 3 points for green, because they only get half points for non-Roman units. So they must have something against green, because here they are at a whole 6 points right now. So 3 points for green, and then 1 point for blue. Somebody on Board Game Geek told me that you can't score points when it's not your turn. So in this case, blue would not score points if green lost a unit like this. I think that's poppycock, to be quite honest. And if you're watching, I still appreciate all of your comments. But I just don't agree at all. Excuse me. And here's the primary reason. If you loot a Roman city, they lose 2 victory points, and it's written right on the Roman card, right here. -2 VP for each Roman city looted. That doesn't occur when it's the Romans' turn. So I just think that, and then if you look at the Board Game Geek errata document that's being put together by, I think it's Bjorn is his name. Anyways, really awesome guy who's putting all this stuff together. It says that you score those immediately when they occur. It doesn't say during your turn. So that's not written anywhere in the rules, the rule update. So I think I'm doing this correctly. And if I'm not doing this correctly, it's insanity. I'm house ruling it to change it to this, because this makes sense to me. The fact that they killed 1 unit, they at least get a point. Even though they got slaughtered, they're still getting a point. Like, that makes sense to me. So anyways, they get to recover 2 of them. So we got to figure out which 2 they're going to recover. And it's going to be these heavy heavy horses. Everything else goes back into their pile. And then we have to do a leader eliminated check, which is something I rarely do, but And of course, it's not listed on any of these tables. So let me find the table for leader elimination. So I think it's on the back of the Huns. So the Huns player aid, on the back of it, it has a leader assassination check. So Empire in decline, leader gains a victory. Nope, that's not it. I know there's a check to see if you lose your leader. There's for sure a check on that. Oh, come on. I see fleeing combat, I see sieges. Oh, there's a lost leader check. It might be a D2 check, let me check. Pun intended, ha ha ha. Okay, so I gotta go to the combat phase here. Right here. Leader elimination check. If a stack is completely eliminated, do a D2 check. If you fail, you have to eliminate the leader. If you pass, you relocate the leader to the nearest friendly province. Okay. I knew I wasn't going crazy. So I don't think it matters which die you use, just even as a pass. And he passed. So this leader, which is just a Rex, but he does survive with these 2 units. And then basically the Horde is now a vassal of the Huns. And this is the part where it's really hard to track it. But the Ostrogoths have now become vassalized under the Huns. And so, for example, their money marker doesn't have like multiple colors on its side. There's nothing really to do. So what I have here is I have this little raid marker. So this little raid marker here, I'm going to put that on the Hun card just so it shows that they have control over the Ostrogoths. Okay, so this guy, of course, is going to flip back because everybody recovers too. And turn is over for the Huns. So now the Germanic tribes all get to go. And in order, it's listed here in the rule book. The Alemanni, the Angles, the Bavarians. Some of these aren't in the game yet. So Alemanni for sure are in the game. The Burgundians, they're in. The Franks, they're in. The Goths, so they're both in. The Austro-Visi. Herolese. What do we got up there? The Vandals and the Swabi. Yeah, they're all in. So everybody basically goes. And this is crazy. So they're all going again. Oh, I don't think these guys get to go. The Alans. Those would not be considered Germanic. No, they're nomadic barbarians. Just not. Okay. So there's a lot to do then. They're all going to get to go twice even, which is crazy. Okay, so the Alemanni, this is going to take forever. The Alemanni are going to, they get big bonuses for becoming a kingdom and an empire, but they need to get to northern France. And that's right, they want this Lotharingia place. So their horde is not going to be able to move unless they migrate. And of course, they're trying to bust through Rome here. And all they have is just a Rex. But remember, the Roman leader is inactive, so he can't do anything. This one can, or they can intercept, these Roman leaders can. And so 1, 2 gets them here, but it doesn't get them to here. So they're going to try to punch through here. So let's grab our units and see what we can do. So the Romans have 3 units. We have a big stack of Alemanni here, but we can only attack with 4. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he does add 2 more. So the Rex is actually quite good for as far as adding goes. Now, the Romans can try, these are obviously the Gothy Romans who won't actually defend against the Goths. The other Romans can try to intercept. So let's do that. So we're gonna roll an interception check. And I rolled a 9, which means it's probably gonna happen. They add the leader value -1. If it's, see, that's the thing, this table is wrong, but I like this table actually. It says -1 for every non-adjacent province. So if they go across the province that they're adjacent to, no big deal. But then if they move a second place, it's -1. If they move a third place, it's -2. The rule book says -2 if they move 3 spaces. So the only thing that got eliminated is it's not -1 if you move 2 spaces. You see what I mean? I actually like this table here. And then it says -2 for each ridge or strait. And that is not an issue because there's no ridge. It looks like there is, but they're going west and then north. So they're only going 2 spaces. So I would say they only get a -1. They only needed a 6. And they are empire, so they get +2. They easily make it. So we're going to add 3 more units, like so. And I'm not sure stacking limits apply for defenders. That's actually a good point. Do they apply for defenders? Stacking refers to stacking inside of a province for units of the active nation. And yeah, when there's an invasion, they get a +1. So with all the points that red has, the barbarians need to punch through. There's no doubt about that. The Romans did get some really nice units here, but they do need to get punched through. And as much as like, I sort of like, when I play the coin games, I like playing the Romans because you're basically dealing with counterinsurgents, right? You're countering, all the insurgents are the barbarians and you're trying to punch them back. It's almost like tower defense. I really enjoy those games, and that's was my interest in this. So the fact that the Romans are trying to hold on to their empire, I mean, I guess, you know, when I'm playing all sides, I sort of have a sympathy for the Romans. But yeah, I want to see this game balance out a little bit from a points perspective. And of course, if I'm playing as the Alemanni, which are the green player, I do want Rome to burn. So just give me a second here. I'm just looking up the interception rules. If the intercepted stack exceeds the target province's stacking limit, the units in excess do not participate but share the fate of their stack. The intercepted stack can overrun or use passage in force if applicable. All right, so you cannot exceed the stacking limit. So if I were to send these, it would only be so one guy can go, but the whole stack has to intercept. I can't just say one guy in the stack is intercepting. That's an interesting rule. And I'm going to leave my 3 guys behind then, because I don't want, because it said the fate applies to the entire stack. I'm not sure how exciting that is. This might be bad. And then of course this comes along, and that counts as a unit for them. Okay, So, well, maybe we do want to send because then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We would actually have 5 units here. That really would be able to give a nice punch back. It's just that there's no leader. And I sort of get the sense that we need those other 3 units to help hold back everything else. But you know what? We did the intercept. We succeeded. So 1 unit will join because there's only a max of 4. And these 2 will sit out, but obviously they share the fate. So if these guys have to retreat, they have to retreat as well. So they're just not in the battle. Okay, so I think we're good to go there. As far as heavies go, they actually win the heavy count. There's no cavalry though on either side. So there's just heavy for here. And there's not even elites. So these are all barbarian units, of course, even though they're for Rome. And then I'm just making sure, yeah, they're the Heruli. So they definitely are willing to fight the Alamans. So yeah, let's go ahead and go here. These guys are the attackers. He gets +1 reroll. So he's going to add 2 to his roll. And there's nothing these guys can do about it. So he rolled a 6. Okay. So he's adding 2 to make it 8. And he did cross a river. So it goes back down to 7. There's no fortified city present. Okay, these are technically barbarian units in a forest, but they're civilized, so I'm going to say no. I think the term barbarian means truly... Actually, that's a good question. Let's check. That may actually be worth checking. Because these are barbarian auxiliary units. And yes, they are barbarians. So there's Empire versus Barbarians, and it has like a little symbol. And -1 in the forest, it's a defender, is a non-nomad barbarian. And there's also that symbol again. So now I got to look up what that symbol means, which is in the regular combat, not the advanced combat. It is enough that one of the units involved satisfies a condition. So you don't need to have the whole stack satisfy it, basically. So then the question becomes, see, I think that a barbarian defender means that it's a barbarian nation. I don't think it's referring to the troops. And if I was willing to go through all the examples they gave, which they give actually quite a few, I do appreciate that, that maybe, well, here we go. We got 2 auxiliary infantries in this one situation. The Battle of Argenturitatum. And it's against the Alemanni. So let's see. Tactical advantages. The Alemanni have none. The Romans get an elite bonus of 1. The advantage of Empire over Barbarians. And the heavy cavalry advantage. And yeah, there's no... well, the Romans aren't the defender in this situation. Oh, actually they are the defender. So yeah, the fact that they had barbarian auxiliary units did not count for them. Now, it could have been that this wasn't a forest region, but we're going to just make a house ruling on that that doesn't count. So again, they have an 8. -1 is 7. And I believe that wraps it up for them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. Getting a 7 is going to be a pretty good outcome. 2 hits. that half gets rounded down because it's in a forest. So they did 2 hits on the Romans. So obviously, well, one of them is going to be the Lemus. 1 and then 2, okay? But that Lemus counts as a unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 5, and now they're going to roll. And they rolled an 8, which they needed to get high. So with the 8, no, there's no straight. No fortified city. No cavalry. They get 1 more because it's Empire versus Barbarian, so it becomes a 9. But they don't have the heavy advantage, so that 9 becomes an 8 again. So these two cancel each other out because the Barbarians actually have the heavy advantage. Oh, so we said they had 5 units, and they got an 8. So that's 2 hits as well. So they did 2 hits back. All right, so they would just kill these 2. And then we go to round 2 of the combat. And I don't think there's, like, we could try to retreat, but I don't think there's going to. Now, what would be interesting is that these 2 should be able to join, right? Because the stacking limit changed, right? I don't think that it allows you to do that, though. That is definitely an advanced type of situation there. And to be quite honest, the rules probably don't cover it. And it's a 50-50 chance that if we ask the developer that it might actually go into the rules. So stacking is on page 15. I'm trying to see, on an opponent's reaction is on 17. So yeah, so there's a stacking rule when an interception confrontation occurs before combat. So let's go to the opponent's reaction. If the stacking limit of the target province would be exceeded by the intercepting stacks, units in excess must be left behind. Units may not be dropped along the way. Oh, that's interesting. So the rule book itself says something completely different than the player aid. If the intercepted stack exceeds the target province's stacking, they do not participate but share the fate. Oh, that meant that if the Alamanis had somehow had more than the stack needed for the battle, because you get intercepted, I guess, as you're marching across, and the whole stack limit thing is weird, because you can exceed the stack limit while you're marching, but then you have to meet it later. Okay, so these other 2 guys are left behind, so you really can just choose not to move 2 of your guys. Arms aren't long enough. Gotta stand back up. Okay. All right, so let's do round 2. These guys attack. There's no more rerolls or anything left. And they rolled an 8. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4 units with an 8. So 4, 8 is 2 more hits. So it's not quite enough to defeat them. But it's definitely enough to do a lot of damage. All right, so then these guys are going to roll with 3 units. They need to roll high. They rolled a 7. That's not going to do it, but that'll probably be 1 hit maybe. 3, 7 is 1 hit. So 1 hit on the Alemanni. The Alemanni are going to lose a unit, but so are the Romans. So 2 of them, of course, are going to recover. And actually, we're going to let this one be the one that died. So that way, it's all Gothi that are together. All right, so these will recover. It is 2 points for green, so I'm going to do that. Green is now at 8. And then 2 of these are going to recover. And the Alemanni are going to lose 1. And that is 2 points for red. Because they need points. All right. These guys have to retreat because the battle, they didn't win. I mean, they definitely... Oh, actually, hold on a second. The victor is whoever killed the most units. They both killed 3. So then the victor is who has the best leader, and it's them. So they are the victor. So these guys have to retreat. I almost brain farted and got that rule completely wrong. Okay, so they took Lotharingia, which is good for them. And yeah, these guys have to retreat. And so what they're going to do is they're going to just go right into Burgundia here to prevent them from getting in further. And Burgundia is one of their provinces that they need. So, okay, so all of that was just for the Alemannis to go. Next, the Frankie get to go. So the Frankie belong to the red player, and right now they're just trying to basically position themselves so they can take this region completely. And they are a federati state, so the region will be given to them by the Romans, so they don't need to actually worry about that. This is an invasion, so they can actually go and try to punch the Alemanni back, right? That's one of the things they can do. The Alemanni want the same space the Frankies want. So the Frankies are not happy with them being here. So you can see this Rex has a stacking limit of +2. And we got 1, 2 units here. And then this would be 3. And this would be 4 +2. So everybody's going to move 1, 2, 3. So basically, we're attacking the Alemanni. Now the barbarians have to so barbarians have to stay in a province to take control of a province. However, if the horde unit is in an area, they control the whole area if that's the only horde unit there. But I think that's only a barbarian area. That's not a civilized area. So by doing this attack, they're giving up all of those spots that score them points. But they don't score points until turn 3. So they don't score points this round for doing nothing, okay? And then one thing I wanted to check for the Huns, we said they score 12 points for, they have to submit both Goths. So they submitted 1 so far. They got to get the other one, which may not happen. All right. So I'm going to go to the province control, and bear in mind that the FAQ on Board Game Geek really changed a lot of these rules, but for barbarians to control an area, if the only hordes present are theirs, their allies are their vassals. So, and barbarians control a civilized area if they control the majority of its provinces. We're not worried about that because they're a federati of the Romans. So they don't have to control all the provinces. The Romans control everything. And the Romans gave them, some territory that, is theirs to count as their own. But like I said, on turn 3, the Romans plan on giving them the entire region. So, yeah, we're going to do this, is really what I'm trying to say. So let's get it done. All right, we brought in the Frankie. 1 bite, everybody knows the rules. All right, so we got the Rex. And then these are those Frankie archers that we're talking about. So there's going to be an archery phase for them. They do not have elite units, at least not yet. And the fact that the Romans took out one of these units is helping them because this leader had a +2 as well. And so yeah, there's a lot of carnage that's going to happen here. Let's see, the Frankie score points for each non-Frank unit eliminated in Gallia, which would be, this is Gallia. Oh, they get 3 points for every turn they're under Fedis, Federati, however you pronounce it. Yeah, so I'm going to give them their 3 points now before I forget. So the red just got richer. Okay, this is going to be very interesting. They do have the heavy advantage. So in the archery phase, they get to subtract 2 from the die roll. So we rolled a 7, and because it's the Frankies, it's +1 for every 2. So this would become 8, 9, 10. And you know what? They don't have the heavy advantage. There's 1 heavy here, and you need to have 2 more than the other. So 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a good roll, and it hits 1 unit and eliminates them. So this unit got eliminated before the battle even started. All right, so now we got to do melee, and he probably should have tried to retreat. So let's see if we could retreat first. Remember, we got to roll really high. I rolled a perfect 10. This is for the Alemanni. So if they succeed in this retreat, then this battle didn't happen. So then they get to add the leader value, which is going to be a 1, so that would be an 11. They would have retreated. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So nobody got eliminated. Sorry, I was getting a little ahead of myself. So what they would do is they would just retreat back to their horde. So they made it across, but then they got kicked back. Because the Frankies are actually quite tough with that archery phase. So then the map looks like that. So their turn is over. So then, what do we got next? We have the Ostrogoth and then the Visigoth. Well, the Ostrogoths are now vassals of the Huns, but all they're going to do is, actually, I need to check real quick. Is this an invasion step or is this a regular step? And the reason this matters is in an invasion, you can't migrate. So the Hun invasion is interrupted by other nations. Each Germanic barbarian nation then activates in the normal game order. Once all Germanic barbarians are done, the Huns resume play with their second invasion. The remaining nations activate normally afterwards. Okay, so yeah, the Germanics, this is just their normal turn. So they're going to migrate. And they're going to go 1, 2, 3, right here to Hunia, which was named after the Huns, I guess. Maybe they don't want to, I mean, they're allied with the Huns now because they're a vassal. Did they really want to go there? Why wouldn't they? They need to go all the way into Spain, I believe. They should have played this card when they were attacked by the Huns. I didn't realize. So that's the thing when you're playing solitaire like this. There's just so much to keep track of. Okay, yeah, the Ostrogoths are trying to get into Italy. So that's a really good spot for them. So next up is the Visigoths, which is this big stack. Now they do get a +2, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and then +1, +2. And then there's 4 more units on top of that. So they can try to attack the Romans, which of course is what they want to do, because these guys are trying to get into Spain. The other thing they can do is they can flee into Germania, which means that the Huns can't touch them. And that'll prevent the Huns from getting 12 points. So that might be worth doing. And then they would like basically be next to the Huns or next to the Alemanni, trying to do similar things as them. It's not a very exciting turn for them. Let's see, I'm looking at their points. So they need to get into here to score points by turn 3. That would mean they need to attack. So I think what they want to do is they're going to try to attack this instead of attacking this big stack. That allows them to safely move across the river. So even if they get intercepted by this big stack, they will have moved across the river and avoided that penalty. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. So I'm just looking at their units, and I'm taking an archer with me and a heavy. So 2 of these won't go. All right. So these 2 plus these 4, that's 6, are going to go with this leader here. Okay? And then oh, you know what? Oh, crap. They have campaigns. Each of these leaders have campaigns on them. When do those campaigns happen? Do they happen now or do they happen after? I bet they happen now. So these 4 actually are going to do a sacrifice and attack this stack here to prevent them from intercepting. That's what they're going to do. And in doing so, it's going to help them to get across the river, take out something. But I think we need to pause for a second. This Alemanni stack has 1 campaign that they can do as part of their turn. And the same with the Ostrogoths. They have a campaign as well. Although they're so low on troops, I think they would have forfeited their campaign, but they can... The Alemanni, what would they have done once they were in Lotharingia? Would they have attacked further into the territory and tried to go after those Goths? My answer is yes, they would have. Which means then that, let's say they did retreat from the Franki, they would have retreated back to Lotharingia or back to their horde. I think they would have tried to eliminate those Roman barbarians and gone deeper. Yeah, they would have. So let's we're gonna roll for interception. I'm doing it off camera. I got a 9. So these units would have intercepted here, and there would have been a battle between Rome and those guys. So I'm just gonna do it right here on the board. And we're going to roll for the Alemanni first. And you can see I got a 10. And they should have the heavy bonus. Yes, they do. So a 10 is a really good roll for them. Yeah, and that's it. They got a 10. And they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units at a 10. That's 3 hits. So 3 of the Romans are out. Okay, so now we're going to roll for the Romans. And they actually they could have given themselves a +2. I didn't even think about that. But you're supposed to call it beforehand. So the Romans are going to roll. And they rolled a 5. They do get a +1, but they also get a -1 because they don't have the heavy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units out of 5 is just 1. Actually, it's 1.5, so they do 2 hits. So 2 of these would go down. 1, 2, like so. So now we go to the second roll, and yes, he's going to give himself a +2 bonus. They rolled a 6. It becomes an 8, and they have 3 units at an 8. That's 1.5 hits, but that's enough to finish them off. The Romans roll a 9 at 2 units. That's 1.5 hits, so they do 2 hits. Oof, that's actually brutal on the Alemanni. All right, so these 2 that just got hit at the end would be restored. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bucks for red. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bucks for the Alemanni, which is green. And as you can see, the Alemanni are a lot weaker because these 2 units actually get removed. The Romans lose all their units, but they get them back every round for free because these are barbarian auxiliaries. But with that said, the Alemanni would have been in Burgundia, so then this stack would have moved here instead of there, and yes, they would have retreated big time. And this guy has a campaign, and he gets to do a campaign, so he would move again. So let's see if they retreat the second time. I only rolled a 3 this time. It's not enough. So now the other thing they could have done is, since they had such a low amount, they could have moved across the river back to their horde. But by doing what they just did, they protected their horde, so because we could have ended up vassalizing them. So this actually, it's going to wipe out their stack, but it's going to protect them from getting vassalized, at least by the Frankie. So yes, there's a battle that's going to happen, and I don't think they're going to like it. So we're going to roll for the Frankie archers. That's an 8. 9, 10, 11. That would be 1 hit. So already the Alemanni are down to just 2 units, and they don't have a heavy advantage or anything. The Frankie's going to give themselves a +2 to their die roll, and then of course the Alemanni are going to cancel it. And the Frankie only got a 4. So let me count their units. 1, 2, 3, 6 units out of 4 is only 1 hit in a forest. Yeah, it's just 1 hit. So the Alemanni are still surviving. They're going to roll. They only rolled a 3, and they had only 2 units. That's 0 hits. So now we go to the second round. They could try to flee again, so they will try. They only rolled a 3. That's not going to do it. Romans, they rolled a 3, which is pathetic. 3, 4, 5, 6. But they have a lot of units. They have 6 of them. They do 1 hit, which is enough to eliminate the Alemanni. And then a 5 for the Alemanni, who have only 1 unit, and that's 0. So then we're going to do a check to see if the leader gets eliminated, and it does not. It passes. Yeah, so the Alemanni have to retreat. They do get to keep 2 of their units, so we're just going to take the top one here. Red player gets 3 points. That's eliminated. So 3 points for red. Okay. And these guys would finish their turn there. Sorry about that. We just had to retcon a little bit. Now this one, he has a campaign, but I don't know what to do, because no matter where he goes, he's going to get intercepted. And I don't think he wants to do a battle. I mean, he's down to just 2 units along with his horde. So I think he wants to stay alive. So he's going to pass. He can move his troops, but he can't move the horde. All right, so now we're going to do this little feint thing. So we're going to try to sacrifice troops here to take this. And he has a campaign of 2, so he gets to go twice. So we're going to try this. This may not be a smart move, but we'll see. And by intercepting those, or by sacrificing these units here, this stack can't intercept the other stack. That's the idea. So we got 4 against the mighty Romans, which are going to be very, very overloaded here. All right, the Romans have all kinds of bonuses. I think everything, elite, cavalry, all of it. These guys are toast, but they're going to go ahead and roll. And they rolled a 3. So 4 units at a 3. They get -1 because of the heavy advantage of the Romans. So it becomes even a 2. And we are in the steppe terrain, so even at a 2, that's still 1 hit. So let's see what else we got. They did cross a river, so that 2 becomes a 1. And even at a 1, they do 1 hit with 4 units. So the Romans do take 1 hit here. So this legion will take the hit. All right, and so now the Romans roll, and they rolled a 4. They can choose to re-roll, and they will. And they rolled a 4 again. Okay, so the cavalry gives them 1 for 5. They have a +2 because of all the elites, so that becomes 7. And I'm just going to check before we even look at any of the other modifiers. At 6, 7, that's 2 hits. That's not enough. They get +1 because they're an empire versus a barbarian, so that becomes 8. And there's a fortified city present, so it becomes 9. So I'm going to check again at 9. 3 units are killed. And these guys, they can try to retreat. It's not going to happen. So they roll 5. 1 unit rolling a 5 is nothing. And, sorry, my dog is playing, making all kinds of noise. So no hits for the Visigoths. And then the Romans rolled an 11. I'm not even going to bother. So 4 points for the Romans. So they did give up 4 points there. But they prevented the Romans from doing anything. 2 of the units do get to recover. And so they're just going to retreat back and defend the horde. The Romans themselves do get to flip one of these because they're civilized. And yeah, their stack remains intact. However, we did a nice do-si-do here and we made it across. So these 2 get destroyed. And so we're just up against a Limas fort and that's it. So that Limas fort is just going to roll a D2 check. He passed, so it does do 1 hit. And so they do take 1 hit. But the fort is destroyed, so that's 1 point each. So 1 point for blue, 1 point for red. And now they're going to try to siege the city. So they got an 8, which I think is enough. So if we look at the siege, they're not civilized. They do have to take a -2, so it becomes a 6. And it says -1 for a nomadic barbarian. These guys are not nomadic. The Huns are, though. But they get +1 because the Romans are in decline. So that's enough to get them to a 7, and that's enough to win. So they sieged the city, and then he had 2 more rerolls. And this unit, of course, gets restored. So the strategy worked. They were able to take Pannonia, and this city is going to burn. Oh, I'm trying to do all this with 1 hand. All right, so let me check their victory points. Do they need Pannonia? No, they don't. So they're going to actually raise the city, which makes it unfortified. And it is a level 1. So We're gonna get a pillage marker here. They get $2 for this, and then 3 more. So 5 total bucks. That puts them up to 9. And event number 19 happens. Whatever that's gonna be. May only be played on a civilized nation. The target nation founds a new level 1 city on an empty site it controls free of charge, or the target nation may pay to increase the size of an existing city it controls for 5 or 10. So that's a event that they get to hold on to and use whenever they like. And of course I was a dodo head and I threw the pillage marker back into the board, or back into the pool, so I don't have it anymore. Oh, I found it. I found it. Yay. All right. So this city is burning. And yes, the blue player has this ability to increase a city level by 1. The problem is the blue player has absolutely no civilized nations under his control at the moment. So he might soon, but not yet. Okay, so they made it over the river, and now they have 2 more campaigns. So this is the part where it gets really interesting, because if we try to budge another inch, that big Roman stack is going to try to intercept them, and it's probably going to hit them hard. If they don't get out of the way, the Huns are going to come through and vassalize them. But if they allow the Romans to hit them, the Huns are going to come through and vassalize them anyways. So to do, they probably should have migrated into Germania there. Actually, that's something. They are not in Germania. Uh-oh. So they're vulnerable at the moment. So, the Romans lose 2 victory points because one of their cities got burned. So I just took that away. These guys get points if they can get into here. So like they can try to move here, but as soon as they move, they can get intercepted. And just so we're being clear, this terrain is the forest terrain that the Romans are on. So this space is open and free. And this is not on this space, this is up here with the Romans. Okay? So, so this space is open for them to go into, and then they would get intercepted. And that space is also mountains, so they have to leave a unit behind because there's a stacking limit there. The thing is the Romans have to leave a unit behind as well, but the Romans got some really nice units. So I think what they're going to do I was going to say I would like to go back and protect the horde from the Huns. The problem I'm experiencing is that I think you have to have a stacking limit in your area. If we attack the Romans here, they got a Limes fort and a fortified city. That would be suicide. We could attack the Byzantines, because remember, these guys aren't allied anymore. We can come here, which would draw this guy, but what it would allow us to do is we're now over here, and then when we move here, if this guy wanted to intercept us, he has to move 3 spaces. But then we would have to move 3 spaces to be able to take anything that belongs to Rome. So it's this does belong to Rome, though, this city down here. And if we could take that, we actually make them lose control of the area. The thing is it's not their goal. Their goal is to get into Italy. I just think that the Roman troops are just so powerful that it's not going to end well for us. But you know what? We have 2 campaigns to go, so let's try it. So we're going to pick the best 3 units this guy has. He has a stacking limit of +2, so you can make it 5. So we'll put him here. There's 1. This would be 2, 3, and 4, 5. So he has to leave 1 unit behind. And that unit's fine, because the barbarians, in order to control that city, have to leave a unit behind anyways. So we'll do that. And then this guy's going to roll to intercept. I rolled a 9, which I don't even need to check. He intercepts. So we're going to take him, and he has a stacking bonus of 2, so he gets to bring 5 of his guys. So let's figure out what 5 he's going to use. This is just not going to be an even battle at all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then he's leaving a legion behind to protect the city. Okay, well, it is what it is. We're in the mountains. We do have to do an archery phase, and this guy's the only one with archers. He has 2 heavies, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4 heavies, so these guys win the heavy battle. They're going to get a -2 to their die roll for the archers. There's nothing else that's going to benefit them, so let's roll. I rolled an 11. This does make it a 12, because you do get to add your archers, but then this makes it a 10. And that is the difference between 2 hits and 1 hit. But they did inflict 1 hit on these guys, so we're going to go ahead and take the hit there. And that actually caused them to lose the heavy bonus. That's actually was successful. So now we got the interesting thing going on. These guys are the attackers. He's going to spend one of his rerolls to get a +2. He'll spend his to cancel it. Because, like I said, that's to me, that's sound strategy all the time. And he does have another reroll left, so he needs to survive this first round. So he's going to roll. And he got a 6, which is not a great roll. But as far as attackers go, none of these penalties apply. He does not have elites. There is no cavalry bonus either, because he has 1 cavalry and they have 2. So, yeah, it's just straight up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He rolled a 6. 6 and a 5 is 2 hits. So this is interesting. The Romans, no matter what, an elite unit's going to get hit. So they can choose to eliminate 1, or they can hit 2 elite units. Either way, that hurts. They're going to hit 2 elite units, like so. Okay, but they are elite for this die roll, which is a 7. The elite gives them +2 for 9. I don't think there's any other bonus. Just the elite bonus is all they got. But a 9 is really good. So for 5 units, a 9 is 2.5. This is in the mountains, so it's just 2. So the Visigoths do lose 2 units. And now we go to the next round, and he is going to give himself a +2 to his die roll. And he rolled crap. He rolled a 5. And I'm looking at everything else. Yeah, everything else is fine. So he rolled a 5, which becomes a 7, but he only has 3 units. And at a 7, that's 1 hit on the Romans, and the Romans will lose the legion. And then the Romans roll, and they rolled a 6, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, and they still get +1 for the elite, not +2, but at +1. So they get 7 for 5 units. That's going to be a slaughter fest. 2 more hits. So yeah, the Visigoths just lost 2 more units, and then, you know, battle's over. So Visigoths have to retreat. They're going to take these 2 units back. These 2 are gone. 4 points for red. And 1 point for blue. And they do get to bring this guy back, and they can flip just one of them. So what's interesting is they really did hurt the Romans. They now have 2 elite units that are damaged. So if these Romans were to battle again, they would not have as much strength. Now, the Visigoths still have another campaign, and so he's just going to pick up these 2 guys here. So what are we looking at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can go after him again one more time. And I mean, the only thing that he really did was he reduced, what, 2 of the elite units of the Romans. The best he can hope for is to reduce some more elite units from the Romans, but he's not going to win. And then he's going to lose more of his units. So I think he wants to prevent green from getting 12 points, even though green's not the one with 500 points like red is. So for his second campaign, he's just going to stay here and protect the horde from green. Okay, so we made it through this stack. We still have to go through all of that stack, and then we take the Hun's turn again a second time, and then we get to resume everybody else. So I'm at 1 hour and 11. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and end here, and I'll see you in a few seconds. Stay healthy, stay safe.